So I guess we can start. Whoever wanted to join is already joined us. So let's start with today's training, and we have training regarding the inventory management processes we have in Bell. So what is exactly inventory management? Inventory management is management of flow of products and services from the origin of products to products customers. That means that inventory management starts with purchasing goods, receiving and stocking those goods, and using them in production, then distributing the finished devices to the customers. So the processes we discussed today are purchasing control process, receiving control process, and stocking control process. Controlling those processes is necessary for complying with FDA quality management system regulation and ISO 13485 standard, especially for a company that produces medical grade devices. And obviously, it's a good business practice to control those processes. So let's start with the purchasing control. The goal of the purchasing control is to ensure that we as device manufacturers choose suppliers that are capable to provide us the best quality products and services. A major factor of obtaining high quality components is the selection of the suppliers. It's obvious that our knowledge of supplier operations may be limited, and information about the operations can be difficult to get. But we as manufacturers are the sole responsible for the quality of the finished products we send to our customers. So to the maximum extent, the selection and qualification of suppliers by audits, by performance analysis, evaluation service should be part of our quality management system. So when we think about suppliers, we can divide those to three different types. We have trivial suppliers, we have non-critical suppliers, and we have critical suppliers. Let's start with trivial suppliers. Those suppliers do not affect the product quality at all. We don't need to qualify those suppliers, and we do not need to have suppliers files for those suppliers. The best example are office supplies that every business needs to have. Non-critical suppliers have minimal effect on the product's quality. Large distribution centers that supply off-the-shelf goods are also considered non-critical suppliers. Those distributors, like DGK, for example, usually have their established QMS system in place. They post their quality information and certifications on their websites, and it's visible to all. For non-critical suppliers, we can use our evaluation survey forms to obtain all necessary information to qualify those suppliers. We do not need to sign with the suppliers' quality agreements. The next level of suppliers are critical suppliers. Those suppliers provide goods that, first of all, impact essential performance of the device, but also impact the safety of the device. So the failure of those suppliers' goods may result in, first of all, customer harm. So here the evaluation of those suppliers is much more extensive. We have to sign with those vendors suppliers agreements. We have to obtain from those suppliers certificates of their 9001 or ISO 13485 QMS systems. We have to audit their performance, and we need to evaluate the suppliers regularly, at least once a year. So here in Bell, we have a decision tree for identifying critical suppliers form that guides us through the process of identification of the critical suppliers. The critical and non-critical supplier documentation, as I mentioned before, that contains all the information about supplier, that includes quality agreements for critical suppliers, evaluation service, certifications, communication with the suppliers, you name it. We keep in suppliers folders in our quality management system. Suppliers that passed the qualifications get into approved supplier list. So how do we actually purchase? We purchase by submitting signed purchase order to the purchasing department. Beth was so kind by providing me with this chart that described the process. Thank you, Beth. Let's take a look. Here in Bell, we have 3 different kinds of purchase orders. The main difference between those forms are the dollar amount of the purchase and people that have to approve the purchase. For products that cost less than $5,000, project manager is the approval authority. For purchases between $5,000 to $10,000, we need project manager and TES as accounting manager approval. All purchases that cost more than $10,000, in addition to project manager and TES, will require DONS approval. So we purchased goods and they arrived to Belka. Now we need to implement the receiving control process. The goal of this process is to verify that quantity, quality, and cost of the items we purchase conforms to the order we placed. First of all, the receiving person should inspect the package against the purchase order. If there are no discrepancies, he or she can sign the packing list and send it to accounting department. If there is a problem, they should notify purchasing department so they'll get in touch with the supplier. The past items then should be entered into NetSuite ERP system. The next step is more in-depth inspection by production department. If the inspection was successful, the materials can be stocked. If the purchased items fail the inspection, they should be segregated, red labeled, and treated in accordance to non-conformance procedure, and that can be returned to suppliers or left as it is after judgment call from production manager or designated this manager. So we received our raw materials and components and inspected them. Those items passed the inspection and we need to stock those items. Stocking control, or inventory control if you want, is necessary to track what we have in place. To track raw materials and components, we use part number identification, and we store those items in accordance with part number identification. The organization of the stockroom and labeling of the shelves is necessary also for easily to find those items and control those items. To control the inventory of the final products, we assign serial number to specific device we manufactured. So, and now we'll ask Ishwara to describe us part numbering scheme, as well as how do we assign serial number to the finished product. I hope you're ready, Ishwara.
Yeah, I have a slide.
So let me give you, so if you want to, I don't need to give you control. You can do it yourself, no?
I'm going to share my screen. All right, I think most of them are kind of familiar with part number and serial number, as Dana explained. But I'll go through some definition. Is part number is an identifier of any part design, either it is Bell's own design or off-the-shelf products like screws, for example. Um, and serial number is slightly different, which is it can be the multiple serial numbers can be the same part number, but the one thing that differentiates is each unit can have a separate serial number. So those are the two high-level differentiation between part number and serial number. Um, and we have SOP related to both part numbering and serial numbering, and the location, it's in our SharePoint. There is this procedure, which I'll just review it quickly. And there's a work instruction where Bell has a unique part numbering scheme. It's in a kind of a spreadsheet format, and it is located in this document. So in this SOP, part numbering SOP, it just the main purpose is how we can organize parts and with part numbers and serial numbers, how we have to designate using our Bell part numbering scheme. And this procedure is not used for like for during a prototyping staging, for example. We don't have to follow this procedure. Only when we are in phase 2 of our QMS, which is when we officially start a project in QMS during design output phase, we start implementing this part numbering and serial numbering. I think this is what it just says here. And each part has a part description, and the part description, especially for that we are customer facing, like Bellamp or Sorcerer or HeadWeb, the official product description comes from sales and marketing approval. But rest of the parts, which is like sub-level components of the product, or doesn't come from sales and marketing. It's just engineering good practices. And who creates part numbering and assigns serial numbering is the manufacturing engineering department. Currently, Devon is mainly doing this manufacturing engineering role of assigning part numbers and in NetSuite, and creating in our SharePoint folder location BOM in the respective project folders. So, and Bell part numbers consist of a 10-digit number plus 2-digit revision control. So it's a total of 12 digits. And the each part number we have categorized into these 9 categories at a high level. I'll just go through one by one. It's just we have categories for non-inventory items. Those part number starts with number 1, and the rest of the 9 digits can be anything based on our part numbering scheme work instruction. I'm not going into the details of how we segregate the rest of the 9 digits, but the first digit, we can identify any part by its first digit. So hardware parts is category 4, software, Bell's own design starts with 7, 8 and 9 are customer facing part numbers. at a high level, these will be the top level assemblies and kits. So sales and marketing will primarily use these two numbers commonly. Um, for engineering, it will be mostly from 1 to 7. And we do have a revision, as I said, number designated, the 2-digit. The revision is not necessary for all parts. Um, if if it is a Bell's own design, engineering design, for example, Bell amp enclosure or software, Sorcerer software, which is Bell's own design, then we include a revision appended to the part number. If it is not owned by Bell design, for example, we might buy screws, off-the-shelf electrodes, for example, Datwyler electrodes. Those don't need revision in our part numbering scheme. So those will have only 10 digits. If it is a Bell design, it will have 10 digit plus 2 digit of revision. Any questions here? Okay, I will move on. Serial number designation. So serial numbers, it doesn't have to be just for the final product, but it can be for also some sub-level components as well. For example, the PCB board for Bell amp, it can have the same part number, but we can get 10 PCB boards from the vendor, and each PCB board can have its own serial number. As well as when we put the Bell amp together, we will have a final top level assembly, and that will have a serial number as well. And Bell's serial numbering scheme consists of 8 characters. The first 3 is the product code, and the last 5 is numeric, just numbers, starting with 00001. For headbub, we have associated the product code to be GHW. For Bell amp, it could be, we haven't decided yet, I think, but it could be EEG or AMP, for example. Just 3 codes, and then we have the rest 5 as numbers. And who assigns this product code is just the manufacturing manager, which is Roma, and he will consult with the rest of the team to get this product code or serial number code for each product. And this is just one example that we have made progress. Is the headweb project. We have a 12-digit part number, which is 10-digit of Bell part number and 2 digits of revision. And it has a serial number, which is GHW, and this is the second headweb, for example. So you can see how it is practically used to reference the product. As this starts with 8, this is according to our part numbering scheme, this is a product BOM assembly, which starts with 8 as well. So this is a finished product, finished fully functional headweb. And 00 is the revision. If we change any fit, form, or function of geodesic headweb, we will upgrade from 00 to 01. So any change in the product, we will have to change the revision. And currently we use NetSuite as our manufacturing engineering tool to enter part number, serial number, and maintaining revision control. And it's a digital database for our current inventory system as well. That's it from me.
So now we have time for like 10 minutes for questions if you have. Okay, I guess there are no questions and everything is clear. That's good to hear. So have a good day and nice to have you here. And please don't forget to sign training record that I'm going to send you now. And I'll send you all the links to all this documentation that I mentioned. Please review this documentation because we need to use this documentation. And thank you for coming.
Great. Thank you, Dana. Thank you, Yashwara.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, thanks, appreciate it.